All right, what is up, tycoons? Super excited for today's video. We're going to break down Filecoin, okay, ticker symbol FIL, looking at the daily chart. And I'm going to teach you guys, we're going to go over some basic chart patterns, okay, that beginners, it's going to be very beginner friendly. And then we're actually going to go over the MACD and the relative strength index. And really to have an edge when it comes to trading and investing in cryptocurrency, you need to be able to start combining some signals together, right? Versus buying blindly off hope or, just simply seeing one chart pattern and buying blindly off of that. It's really better to combine some of your signals together. I like to call them weapons, okay? And cryptocurrency is basically a battlefield, right? We're going to war every time that we're stepping in to the cryptocurrency market. And we need to have the proper weapons, and we need to know how to use these weapons to really give ourselves an edge and increase our odds of success on the battlefield. So none of this video is going to be financial advice. It's going to be more informational. We'll get straight into it. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. And the first thing we're going to look at here is a bullish chart pattern known as a falling wedge. Okay. So here we have our falling wedge indicated by these two trend lines right here. And we're zigzagging in between here, looking for a breakout to the upside that will take price up higher. All right. So that's our first signal, right? That's our first weapon we're using is this chart pattern. Okay. Now we're going to take a look at our MACD down here, and we're going to look for an entry or an exit signal. Okay. An entry signal is going to be when this blue line starts trading above this orange line, right? And it does so aggressively, right? It starts to create room and it just continues to go higher. So we get our entry signal right around here, right after we get our breakout. So we get a breakout, then a slight retest of the trend line, and we explode upwards, right? So if you would have used this as a good entry method, okay, combining tools together, right? We get our MACD buy signal, okay, and it runs up over 150%. Now, from there, it ends up going much, much higher. We'll break that down as well. We actually created a bull flag. That's what this pattern right here is going to be, okay? We have a nice bull flag here, right? Consolidate sideways. We get the breakout from here, and then we get our large move to the upside. And, you need to be able to know when to sell, right? What are some of the exit signals? Okay, well, now what we're going to do is it's not going to be a chart pattern this time. It's going to be the MACD, and it's going to be your relative strength index. Okay, so pay attention to what we have highlighted on the chart. We have two highs highlighted, right? We have a high here, we have a high here. Okay, this is what's known as a high and a higher high. Okay, clearly this token is in an uptrend. The relative strength index is going to measure the relative strength of a token at its given price levels. So what that means is that if the token is going up, the relative strength of the token should be increasing as well. But at this point, we can see we have a high here, and then we have an equal high. It's even trending down a little bit and slightly getting lower. This would be known as a bearish divergence. A divergence is simply when the price of the token is doing something different than the relative strength index. Okay, so we get a bearish divergence right here. That's our first signal. That's our first weapon. Hey, there might be some pullback. Okay, and sure enough, we do get a pullback shortly afterwards, and we start dropping on the token. Okay, and then directly afterwards, we get our MACD sell signal, right? And so the opposite of the MACD entry signal, our exit signal is going to be when the blue line starts going below the orange line and trading below this orange line aggressively, right? So again, we're combining things together now. All right. In the first one, we looked at chart patterns. Okay. And then we combine that with the MACD buy signal that helped to give us an edge. And in this one, we're combining bearish divergence on the relative strength index and the price action of the token combined with a MACD exit signal to give ourselves an edge. We'll zoom forward a little bit more in the chart, and we'll go ahead and take a look here. And what we can see is we're getting another bullish, or this time instead of a bearish divergence, we're actually getting a bullish divergence. Okay, so if we take a look here, we see that the token is actually in a downtrend, right? So we have a low. All right, we have a low, we have a lower low, we have a lower low. We keep making lower lows, and we're trading in a downtrend. Meanwhile, our relative strength index is below oversold, right? This green dotted line here is going to be 30 on the relative strength index. That indicates typically that something is oversold. Just because something is oversold does not mean it can go down lower. This is a great example of it. We're oversold, we go down lower. We're oversold, we go down lower. Okay. But what we do is we do create a bullish divergence in this process, indicating that we're about to have some bullish activity in the future, possibly. Okay. Now it worked the first time here as well. All right, off the first bounce, you see we have the low, we come down, we get a nice little bounce off of that bullish divergence. So there's no way to tell really if it's going to be 100% move, whether it's going to be a 10% move, or whether it's going to be a 50% move, right? If we take a look at this move, that was about a 45% move from the lows to the highs of that bullish divergence signal. But again, in this video, we're highlighting combining things together. Okay, so look how much more impressive the rally was once we had the bullish divergence combined with a MACD buy signal, right? So, we see the MACD right here at this point is trading below. It comes up above, all right, but it's already after we've made the bullish divergence, and we're really trading downwards at this time. Okay, but right here, we get our bullish divergence, okay, from the low here to the low here. Then we have the low, the higher low right there. And directly afterwards, we get our MACD buy signal, and we go on a much more impressive rally. Okay, if we take a look using those as entry signals, we can see that this thing ran up massively. How much was that right here? This thing is in my way. Sorry. It's about 200%, okay, from the lows to the highs right there. So, a great trade right there. And we're doing so by combining strategies together, combining some of our weapons on the battlefield, okay, on this battlefield that is the chart you're looking at for Filecoin right now. Now here we get some sell signals, okay? So what those are going to be is, again, using the relative strength index and using the MACD, okay? We get a MACD crossover right here. The blue line crosses below the orange line, starts trading below it aggressively. That's a sell signal, okay? But right here, I want to highlight that we're extremely overbought. Above 70 on the relative strength index is overbought. Typically, you never really want to buy anything when something is overbought. Okay, that's just it can work for you in your favor, but typically, most of the time it's not going to work in your favor. So what we're seeing is that, hey, we're at very overbought levels here, so I need to be cautious, right? When this thing is rallying up massive right here, this is not a good time to FOMO in. Okay, you're above overbought levels, you're really high on the RSI. And then shortly afterwards, after our overbought levels, we end up getting this MACD exit signal right here. So again, it works very well to your favor if you would have used this strategy, okay, and you wanted to short, or you wanted to just save your profits, right, protect your trade. You could have protected yourself from a 45% drop to the downside, all right? Now, this is a nice little pattern here known as a head and shoulders. I kind of just have this on the chart just because I was watching it at the time. We have a left shoulder here, we have a head, and then we have a right shoulder. We break our neckline and we get a nice push to the upside right here. Those are nice little day trades or swing trades that you can get in, little short-term trades. Over here, what we're doing is we're going to be combining a chart pattern with the MACD as well. Okay, so again, you really want to get an edge, and having an edge is going to be combining a couple strategies together, right? You don't have to use the strategies that I'm displaying you guys in this video. You can use whatever strategies work for you, but these work really well for me in my experience. I've been trading for 3-4 years. And so what we're seeing here is an inverse cup and handle. So we have our inverse cup right here. We come down, all right, and we start to make this handle. So if we break this neckline right here, basically, we're going to most likely get a sharp move to the downside. All right, and sure enough, we end up getting a MACD sell signal right here on this candlestick. Okay, so this candlestick right here ended up breaking our neckline on our inverse headed inverse cup and handle pattern. Okay, once we got the break of that neckline, we got our MACD sell signal right here, and then that resulted in a very sharp move to the downside as well. And we can take a look, and this thing ended up dropping pretty massively, about 45% again there. Okay, and that's what we're doing. We're not trying to trade based off of just one signal. We need to look for at least 2 or 3 signals aligning together, right? That's going to help increase your chances of success and really give you much more confidence in the trade to be able to let the trade play out. All right, we'll zoom here forward again. And what we can see here is that we are again getting a inverse cup and handle pattern. All right, and so we just broke down how that pattern works, but we'll highlight it again. Initially right here, okay, we got our relative strength index way above the overbought level. So we know, hey, this is not a good time for us to be buying right here. So that's your first signal, okay? You're like, hey, this is not a good time for us to be buying. You see it pulls back, all right? So you're like, hey, I did good. I didn't buy in there. And then you notice it starts to form a cup. So what you're looking for here is a bounce. You say, if we get a bounce and we're not able to, create new highs, then we have ourselves a handle. So you see you have your inverse cup, you have your handle. Over here, we ended up getting the MACD sell signal. So we have relative strength index is overbought. That's cautious. That's a signal right there not to buy in. Shortly afterwards, we get a MACD sell signal right here on this candlestick. We come down, we find a little bit of support, and then ultimately we see we end up forming the cup and handle. We break through our neckline and we have a sharp move to the downside, right? Over here, we have an example of some bullish divergence combined with, you know, a MACD entry signal. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's zoom in on the stuff so you guys and everyone can see it nice and clearly. All right. And here's our relative strength index. We'll zoom in on that a little bit more as well. And so what we're seeing is we have a low here. We have, you know, these lower lows right here. Okay. Kind of, this is kind of like a base support right here, really just flatlining, but they're lower lows from this low right here, right? So this is the low, and then these are your lower lows right here. You can see that the relative strength index at this point makes a bottom. Okay, we come up, we hit this level right here, this lower low right here, and then we get a tiny little bounce. Okay, we come back, we pull back, and we're holding this bullish divergence trend line now, right? So we're connecting the low to the higher low right here, and we're seeing that, okay, the token is clearly in a downtrend. The relative strength should be dropping with this token, but we're seeing the relative strength increasing. That's given us the bullish divergence indicator. We may see some bullish activity. And at this point, the MACD was trading above the orange line already. The blue line was. But what you see is right here specifically, we actually get a pullback right through it. And then that's when we get our crossover above. You know, so it's all about demonstrating patience, and, you know, picking and choosing things wisely, right? So once we see that, all right, hey, we got bullish divergence at this point, and then directly afterwards, we got a MACD entry signal right here. You can enter into that play, and you see ultimately I had a very nice run up. And we'll take a look, and that ran up about 120%. Okay, and right after that, we go back into overbought territory. Okay, so now we're saying, hey, well, you know, if I wanted to double down in this area, if I wanted to, if I want to FOMO into this because I missed this massive move up, now's not a good time because we're at overbought levels. Okay, and shortly afterwards, we get our MACD sell signal right here. So we're overbought at these levels. We're using our patience to decide if we're going to enter. All right, and then we get a MACD sell signal right here. All right, and ultimately we get another sharp drop to the downside. Over here, this is kind of like what we were doing in the beginning. We're looking at a falling wedge pattern. This is a bullish pattern where you're expecting a breakout indicated by these two trend lines right here. We're zigzagging, the price action zigzagging in between here. Once you get a break of this trend line, you should have a nice move to the upside. We see, so that's our first signal. That's our first weapon, is going to be the chart pattern. And we see we have a low here and a lower low here. If we take a look at our relative strength index, what we're doing is we're flatlining. Okay, so there's different levels to bullish divergence. So in this case, in this previous case, right, this would be a bullish, like a regular bullish divergence where you have a low and then you're creating these lower lows, and then the relative strength index has a low and it's making higher lows. Right here in this instance, this is what you would what would be known as a slight bullish divergence, because we are making lower lows on the price action, right? We have a low here, lower low here, but what we're doing is we're creating equal lows. Okay, so it's still a divergence. Even though we're not making higher lows on the relative strength index, we're making equal lows, and that's a divergence, right? It's doing something different than what the token itself is actually doing. As a result, we end up getting a nice little pop here. Okay, so, you know, here's right where the bullish divergence was forming, right in through here. And then that's also coincidentally where we get a MACD entry signal as well. So if we zoom in on our MACD, we can take a look and we see, all right, hey, we've got the bullish divergence right here. We also get a MACD crossover right here as well. And then we start trading way above the orange line with the blue line here. All right, and then shortly afterwards, we get a MACD sell signal right here. We can take a look. Okay, the blue line crosses below the orange line. It's trading below this orange line aggressively. If we take a look, we were near overbought levels. Weren't really overbought on the relative strength index, but we were near those levels. And so, yeah, so I mean, we can take a look at today's price action and we can see that, you know, currently we did get a MACD sell signal right here on this candlestick, and we've dropped down massively since then. You know, let's see how much we dropped, about 48%, but currently it's consolidating about 33% down from those lows. So, you know, hopefully you learned something new. A lot of this is, you know, meant to be informational. Again, not financial advice, not telling you guys to buy this token, it's going to go to the moon, not telling you to sell it, it's going straight to zero. but really just trying to help you guys out on your journey in the cryptocurrency battlefield by teaching you a couple weapons that you can start to learn how to use and keep ready to use whenever you see the proper signals. Okay, so if you learned anything new, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. I do viewer requests every single week. So if you want to see your ticker in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below and I'll be happy to make a video on it for you as soon as I can. And if you made it this far, I think you're really going to enjoy one of these next two videos. So make sure to click on one of those.